Swinging a drive. Right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
This is season 4, episode number 34. The Cubs, Crawley, they continue to take care of business. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe, and most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on all the socials. I'm at Mully and Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky and TikTok, and Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com, especially if you want to gloat about a series sweep, Dustin, which we predicted.
Yes, we predicted a sweep. They took care of business. They got the job done. The Rockies leave town having lost 21 straight series. They are still stuck at 9 total wins, 3 total wins on the road. But Crawley, was it a little too close? Was it, as Mike Mulligan this morning put it on the Mully and Haw show, he called it a weak sweep.
You know what? A sweep's a sweep. At the end of the day, you take a look at the wins, and I would say, as far as a weak sweep, there's a lot of different factors that kind of went into what happened. But how many times in the past, Dustin, have we seen this team not take care of business when they're supposed to?
Right. No,
right?
I agree. They took care of business. I would have liked to have been more comfortable. But sometimes the uncomfortable can be good for somebody like Daniel Palencia that we will talk about throughout this afternoon's podcast. But let's get it going, Crawley, with game number 1. Jameson Taillon took the hill going back to late Memorial Day. That was on Monday afternoon over at the Federal Landmark.
Right. And when Mully talks about, how it wasn't a comfortable sweep or whatnot, a lot of it has to do with park factors at Wrigley, and so after scoring 27 runs at the Great American Ballpark last weekend, the Cubs rolled into Wrigley on a cool 56-degree day with a wind blowing in from center field. That's the day that pitching, defense, and small ball are going to be necessary to win this kind of game. And after the Cubs starting pitching struggled in Cincy, they needed a good outing from Jameson Taillon, and that's what he got. He sat down the first 14 hitters he faced before Mickey Moniak hit a solo home run in the 5th to end what at the time was a perfect game and a shutout. The only trouble JMO really had was top of the 6th. He gave up back-to-back singles to start the inning, but interim manager, remember Bud Black's gone, Warren Schaefer, made a puzzling decision, right? He's got 2 on, no outs, and he has his best hitter, Ezekiel Tovar, lay down a bunt. Now, Dustin, I'm all about small ball in these kind of situations, but not when it's your best hitter.
No,
you know what I mean?
I agree with you, but I guess they are so desperate, Crawley. They are so desperate to do anything. He was trying to make something good happen.
Well, he did. They advanced to runners, right? That's fine, but now you got 1 out. Runners at second, third, infield in. Ryan McMahon hits one to Nico Horner, who throws out the runner at home.
Well, that's the difference, right? It took,
right.
Nico made a great, fantastic Gold Glove caliber play at second base.
For me, when I got a guy, whether it's Ezekiel Tovar, if you're talking about the Cubs, Kyle Tucker, whoever, I don't want him bunting. I mean, I understand that sometimes you got to try to make it work, but not when your best hitter's out. That to me doesn't make any sense. After JMO strikes out the next batter, he's all pumped up. He's screaming as he comes off the mound.
That was about as much emotion as I've seen from him, at least that I can remember.
He was fired up. And so that play by Nico was huge. Matt Shaw had some great defensive plays all series long on balls down the line. Taillon earned his 4th win of the season. He went 6 innings for the 5th time in the last 6 starts since April 27th. He recorded 5 quality starts during that stretch. He's got a 2.33 ERA in his last 3 starts since May 14th and has allowed 2 or fewer runs in 6 of his last 8 outings. He tied the season high with 7 strikeouts. So, Dustin, just an excellent start all around by JMO.
He did give up another home run, though, right?
Yep. He gave up that home run to Moniak, and again, that's going to happen, but
it just seems like a thing.
Yep. And it was, he was pitching to McGuire, was catching him for the first time. And he mentioned after the game that McGuire wanted a fastball. He wanted to do change up, and he shook off McGuire, and it wasn't the right pitch. But you know what? These are things you learn when you got a new catcher behind the plate too.
Yep,
Right?
that is true. That's a good point. Very good point.
Now, with the elements favoring the pitching, offense was going to be at a premium. And, this is Craig Counsell and a couple of the guys talking about, just how difficult it is in those conditions and how you have to manufacture runs.
Executed offensively. It was, we didn't have our best day swinging the bats. It was a tough day with the wind for sure. But we executed offensively. We got a runner in from third, less than 2 outs. We got a bunt down. So took advantage of a defensive mistake. And then we pitched great, absolutely. And mainly filled up the strike zone on a day that's really important to do. You win in different ways.
I mean, it's a fun team. It's fun to be a part of. It's a really long lineup. We're tough on pitchers, and then I know we've talked about it earlier in the year, but finding a way to win different types of games. We can win the slugfest. We can win the small ball game. Pitchers are throwing a lot of strikes. Our bullpen's really finding its groove. It's good right now. Obviously, a lot of year ahead, but it's just a nice mix. We can kind of win in a lot of different ways, which is important.
We don't have to just wait for a big homer. I mean, if we have one, great, I'll take it. But I mean, we can get guys on, make it tough at bats for the pitchers, and whether it's hitting, base running, defense, pitching, I think we can win in multiple different ways. So I think that definitely helps out. Just you don't have to rely on one certain thing to get by. You can get by with multiple different ways to win.
And so you heard there that was Craig Counsell, Jamison Tyone, and Kyle Tucker. But you don't, we saw in Cincinnati a lot of long ball, a lot of home runs, a lot of extra base hits. Here you saw him win a different way, and you saw that all 3 games, Dustin. Is playing small ball and playing great defense. And to me, again, those are the keys to winning in October, and in the postseason. And so the one thing you don't want to do, and J-Mo talked about this, you don't want to give the other team free base runners, right? You got to let them hit their way on in those tough conditions. And bottom of the first, Ian Happ draws a leadoff walk. Seiya Suzuki stays red hot. He doubles to put runners at second and third with 1 out. Dansby grounds out, but a run scores. Cubs up 1-0. Score tied at 1 in the bottom of the 5th. Matt Shaw, leadoff walk. Reese McGuire hits a sac bunt to move Shaw to second. And with 2 outs, Kyle Tucker with another clutch hit and RBI single to put the Cubs back up 2-1. Bottom of the 7th, 1 out. Matt Shaw once again draws a walk. Reese McGuire hits a chopper. Pitcher Juan Mejia picks it up. He looks to start that 1-6-3 double play, Dustin. And every time, how many times we've seen it, that throw to second goes wide. It goes into the center. E1, everybody's safe.
Yeah, everybody's safe. Yeah.
Happ singles to load the bases, and Kyle Tucker sac fly makes it a 3-1 games. But Dustin, all 3 runs the Cubs score started with a walk that came around to score.
Yeah, they love to run, man. They love to run, and they've got speed.
Right, but I mean, this is just walks. This is just drawing those walks, getting on there, and then making them pay on that.
Right.
Even though Dansby had an RBI in that game, Tucker had the other 2. He had a career high 24 game on base streak dating back to April 29th.
Pretty impressive streak, no doubt. He's been really good at the plate this year.
But that win on Monday put the Cubs 12 game over 500 for the first time since September 6, 2023. If you remember that, Dustin, we were podcasting, and the Cubs, I think Fangraphs gave them like a 95% chance to make the postseason, and then they absolutely blew it in September.
What happened after that? Not so good. So hopefully that is not a sign of things to come. So game number 2, this is the Cade Horton game.
Yeah, absolutely fun. Again, cold, windy game. Game time temps were at 59 degrees, and then they dropped throughout the game with the crosswind blowing at 12. And Cade Horton was dealing, man. He had his first quality start of his career. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, 1 walk, and struck out 6. Great to see the walks go down. Remember, they went up a little bit in his last start, and the strikeouts went up as well. So that was awesome. He retired the first 9 batters he faced. Ran into a little bit of trouble at the top of the 4th. He hits Jordan Beck with a pitch. Beck steals second. Cade got the next 2 outs, but Ryan McMahon hit a check swing, single to score Beck. Cade walked the next batter and then gave up a soft bunt single to load the bases. before getting Michael Toglia to fly out to end the threat. There wasn't a lot of hard contact there, Dustin, but just a lot of traffic, but he was able to get out of it, which I like to see, right?
Yep, it was good getting out of things. Absolutely. Yep.
And so Council tried to squeeze one more batter out of Horton in the top of the 7th, but Brenton Doyle hit the first pitch he saw into the bleachers. That was Cade's 83rd pitch. His night was over, but again,
he was right on the edge, right? I mean, right on the edge, and it didn't work out.
Yeah. And so, like we said, 6 innings, career high 6 strikeouts. He allowed 3 runs in 11.1 innings in his last 2 starts. So, Dustin, when you take a look at this, he's really making a difficult decision for Jed and Craig Counsell what you see out of him is just a total bulldog mentality. And honestly, it's not as flashy as I was expecting it, right? But he's just getting the job done.
Getting it done, right? It's not just pure power. No.
Right. It's not like, when we saw Paul Skeens come in for the first time.
No,
it's not like that. But to me, he doesn't look overwhelmed by anything. He feels absolutely.
He's there. He meets the moment. He meets the moment without a shadow of a doubt.
It looks like he just knows he belongs, and that I like that confidence in him. Stolen bases. We talked about runs being at a premium. The ball's not flying out. Dustin, this whole series, I saw so many balls that I thought would be home runs that just ended up in the glove of a fielder somewhere. Both Cubs and
a lot of other situations it would have been, no doubt.
Right. Here's the thing, though. The Cubs in this one would rely on their running game. So in game 1, it was the walks that all came around to score. Here, it was the stolen bases. The Cubs stole 3 bases in the 3rd inning. Matt Shaw led off the inning with a single and stole a base. Ian Happ single and stole a base. Kyle Tucker drew a walk to load the bases. Seiya would hit a single to make it a 1-0 game. PCA would ground out but beat the double play to make it 2-0 before Dansby hit a rope that Jordan Beck caught for the final out. Matt Shaw would steal his second base in the 4th. The bullpen, and you heard Craig talk about it earlier, it's continued to look better. Caleb Thielbar, Ryan Brazier, Brad Keller, and Ryan Presley threw 3 innings, gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout as they kept the Rockies off the board. Now, Chris Flexen comes in the 10th and the 11th. He has to do the Manfred man innings, right?
Yep.
So you got a runner on second. He only allowed 1 run on 1 hit in 2 innings of work. And that's going to set up the walk-off by Matt Shaw, which is a lot of fun. But one thing that was cool on that one is that there was a play. If you're watching in the 10th inning, Michael Bush, right? There's a runner at second, start off the inning. Adiel Amador lays down a bunt towards first, and Bush crashed it, just like Anthony Rizzo used to do. And the runner could not advance. But the Cubs bullpen had posted a 1.03 ERA in the last 13 games. That is the lowest in the majors in the run. And we've seen this happen with the Cubs bullpen before, where all of a sudden it takes them a little while, but then they end up finding their groove. And when they do, it all kind of comes together. I'm not saying the Cubs are 100% there, but it feels like they're getting, closer and closer. But I got to tell you, Dustin, I was nervous because it was Pat Hughes, the incomparable Pat Hughes' birthday. And I'm like, they can't have Rockies on Pat Hughes' birthday. That's
no. You can't do that. No.
And so, so now when he gets out of that bottom of the 10th, you got the top of the order coming up, right? So you got a guy at second. You got Ian Happ coming up. He flies out. Kyle Tucker walks. Seiya Suzuki strikes out. PCA grounds out. I saw a lot of PCA throwing his helmet on the ground. He's a little pissed off, but they can't score.
Yeah, he had a rough Tuesday, right?
Right. And so then you get to the top of the 11th, and there's a single, runners at the corner. Flexen gets McMahon to strike out. Brenton Doyle grounds out to give the Rockies a 3-2 lead, and then Freeman flies out. And so you get to the 11th. And the one good thing about this man-for-man situation is PCA, who made the last out, gets to start on second base.
Mm-hmm.
And after Dansby grounds out for the first out, PCA's running, and that's what he does. He steals third. No, it wasn't even close.
No, they didn't even throw. They didn't want a bad throw going out into the outfield, and then him scoring the tying run at that point. So they basically let him take it.
So Michael Bush singles on a ground ball to left. Pete Crow Armstrong scores, games tied up again. And now here's the key, Dustin, and we talked about this in the last episode. You have guys like John Birdie and Vidal Brujan for this very moment. You pull Bush, you get John Birdie on first. He then steals second base.
Mm-hmm.
Nico Horner walks, and then Matt Shaw singles for his very first career walk-off. Dustin, fly the W, go Cubs, go. I mean, that was just a fun game to watch.
He won't forget that anytime soon. There's no doubt about that.
With this win, Dustin, the Cubs moved to 13 games over 500 for the first time since 2019. Now we're going further back. Seiya Suzuki hit his 50th RBI in this game. And the thing about Seiya, we're going to talk more about it in segment 2, but just absolutely, just kind of like going under the radar, having a really great season, in my opinion. And so one more thing, Dustin, when that happened, when Matt Shaw hit that game-winning hit, take a look at this right here. Vic Carapazza missed a call. It was a borderline call, but pitch number 3 should have been strike 3. Shaw should have been out. If we have the ABS system, there's no Matt Shaw walk-off. So just kind of something to keep in mind. But when Matt Shaw, this is from Chris Kompka, in his first stint with the Cubs, he had 1 multi-hit game in 16 starts. Since they've recalled him, it's now gone up. At the time it was 4 and 8. It's now 5 multi-hit games in 9 starts. Now, Matt Shaw, we talked about his first career walk-off. He's the youngest guy to have a career walk-off since who? Do you know? Give me a guess. Relatively recent past.
Addison Russell.
He is the youngest since Chris Bryant in 2015.
Okay.
So say
right era-ish. Yeah.
And when we talk about, I was talking about Seiya Suzuki with 50 RBIs. This is from Sarah Lang, Slangs on Sports. Cubs players with 50 plus RBIs in their first 51 games. Listen to this list. 2025, Seiya Suzuki did it. 2005, Derek Lee. 2001, Sammy Sosa. 1987, Andre Dawson. 1970, Billy Williams. 1960, Ernie Banks. 52 and 54, Hank Sauer, who was also an MVP. 1941, Bill Nicholson. And then Hack Wilson, he of the 191 RBIs. So if you take a look at that list, that is a lot of Hall of Famers, might have been Hall of Famers or close to borderline Hall of Famers on that list right there.
Yeah, it's a good list. Not a bad list to be part of, no doubt about that.
No,
Game number
sir.
3, Crowley. Ready to get into game number 3? Matthew Boyd, Tanner Gordon. And you were at this game, Crowley?
At this game, it was a cold one. I was there with my buddy Danny Rocket. We did a live game cast from there, so it was a lot of fun.
Tell me about that. I heard a little whispers about that, but you didn't promote it or anything. Tell everybody, how does this exactly work?
Well, you basically same like we're doing now, except I have like a little, it looks like a little octopus tentacle and your phone goes on it. And we had little microphones and we were just calling it like we saw the game. So instead of, Pat and Ron or Boog and JD, you just get to hear 2 guys at a ball game, just kind of calling it as they see it. So it's fun. We just do it every now and then. And so, we've called walk-offs before and, you could say whatever you want.
Do you try to do the whole game or?
Oh yeah, we do the whole game. No commercial breaks. Okay. We have guest people that come visit us. It's kind of wild.
Kind of a lubricated version.
Yeah. And I know that Harry has called some games in the bleachers before. Other announcers have done it. It's just fun. You just get the vibe and the atmosphere. The only problem is that we're like about a minute and a half ahead of the telecast. That's the only issue. So.
Yeah. Especially if you got an HD or anything else like that. All right. So anyway, Matthew Boyd, a little cool out there. And,
again.
Matthew Boyd was looking to bounce back. Didn't have a terrible outing last time, but not a Matthew Boyd typical outing.
What was not good, but the Cubs did strike first there. Bottom of the first, 1 out. Tucker at first, Seiya doubles. And Tucker comes all the way around to score for Seiya's MLB leading 51st RBI. Who would have thought at the end of the month that Seiya would be leading all of baseball in RBIs, all of baseball. The Cubs
not
are up.
Me. I can answer that. Not me.
The Cubs are up 1-0 in the bottom of the 4th. PCA hits a solo home run. He hooks it. And guess what? He's second in MLB. That was his 50th RBI. Those were all the runs that would score, Dustin. But take a look at this. When you talk about PCA, these are the guys that have 15 home runs and 16 stolen bases through the team's first 56 games. PCA is on their 2025. The last time someone had 15 home runs and 16 stolen bases through the first 56 games was Eric Davis. 1987. Look at that,
Wow.
20 home runs, 26 stolen bases. Before that, Ken Williams in 1922. And then with that RBI here, you got Cubs teammates with 25 plus RBIs in the same calendar month in the wild card era. May 2025, PCA and Seiya Suzuki both had 25 RBIs in the month of May. Anthony Rizzo and Javi Baez in 2017. And then in 1999, Sammy Sosa and Henry Rodriguez. That's a blast from the past, isn't it?
That is a blast from the past.
Now, again, those are the only runs that would score. They had 6 hits, 3 walks, but they also grounded into 3 double plays. They were over 3 with runners in scoring position and left 4 on base. But Matt Shaw had another multi-hit game like we talked about, the only Cub who had more than 1 hit. Now, the last start for Boyd, as we talked about, not good. He was able to bounce back. He held the Rockies to 1 unearned run on 4 hits with 8 Ks in 6 innings of work for the quality start. The only time he really got in any trouble was in the 6th inning. He gave up a leadoff single to Mickey Moniak. Jordan Beck then crushed one that on any other day would have been a home run, but Ian Hack makes a catch against the wall. Next batter, Tyler Freeman's up. Boyd tries to pick off Moniak and throws it down the right field line. Moniak makes it all the way to third. I mean, I don't know if that was really worth it to try to pick him off on that. Tyler Freeman would crush one again that would have been out any other day. PCA makes the catch against the wall, and then Boyd's able to strike out Ezekiel Tovar to end the threat. But Dustin, I was sitting there watching that whole inning, and I was scared to death. He was definitely out of gas. He was getting hit really, really hard in that inning.
Yeah, very hard. Totally agree. Yeah, it was getting kind of showing your fingernails, kind of a feeling, right?
Right, but then Ryan Brazier came in and Brad Keller, they each pitched a scoreless inning, and Daniel Palencia picked up his 4th save, not giving up a hit. He struck out 2. Dustin, at one point, he hit 102 miles per hour on the speed gun.
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier. This is where I think there can be a good pressure situation, right? I think there's going to be a lot to gain from that situation for somebody like Daniel Palencia. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time he's out there, he's gaining more confidence, more experience, and remember everyone freaked out after he blew that first save, but this guy, we've been watching him all season pitch really, really, really well. And again, even the best closers have a blown save.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, yes, of course. I mean, it just comes, it comes with the territory. If you've never had a blown save, you've probably never been a closer, right? I mean,
right, exactly. And so, again, I understand people wanted, every game to be 20-0, but, as bad as the Rockies are, they're still a major league team, right?
Well, now we have something to discuss, right? I mean, seriously, barely. I mean, barely, Crowley.
But
I mean, Boog had some unbelievable information about that organization in general. They're dodgy. Okay, let's just put it that way. They're a dodgy organization.
Well, I'll tell you this: they have won games this month against the Giants, the Padres, the D-backs. They won a game against the Yankees before they played the Cubs. I mean, all those teams you would consider postseason contenders, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's not like they haven't won, and the Cubs did their job. Over the last few weeks, the Cubs have played the Marlins twice, the White Sox, the Reds, and the Rockies. What's their record in that stretch? 12-3. You can't ask for much better than that. That's what you want to see.
No. Taking care of business, right? That's what the name of this podcast is, right? Taking care of business once again.
Yeah, you take advantage of a soft part of your schedule. You keep winning series, right? And I was at the game on Wednesday. I had friends at the game Monday and Tuesday. It was cold, the wind blowing in. And remember, Jed talked a lot about park factors as far as last year hurting.
Oh my gosh, Crowley, we could have gotten drunk every time that was mentioned, right?
Right. But to me, I guess when the point of it is that when you take a look at this, we are in the exact same situation this year. We are still having problems with park factors. It's still a situation right now. If you take a look at park factors, and you can find this on StatCast. I'm going to see. Can you see that, Dustin, on my screen?
I can, Crowley. Yes, I can.
So if you take a look over here at the very top, these are where a lot of runs are being hit in these stadiums, and a lot of them are not going to be surprising. The Athletics, Sutter Health Park, that's a minor league stadium. Camden Yards, a lot of home runs getting hit there. The Orioles have a bad staff. Coors Field, always a place where a lot of things. But if you take a look at Wrigley, it's down at 18. Okay. So not a lot of runs are being scored in Wrigley Field, and the Cubs have a really good offense. So I'm just saying that when you see the Cubs go on the road, a lot of times that's when you're seeing them score the 10-run games.
Right. That's been more times on the road than at home, no doubt. Mm-hmm.
And so, hopefully, Dustin, I don't know if we're going to perpetually be in 50-degree weather this summer, but I'm hoping.
Oh no! By the time you're back down there, Crowley, we're gonna have better weather.
Well, I'll be back down Sunday, but I'm just going to tell you, with the heat and everything like that, I am just really I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of runs leaving Wrigley Field. But again, it has been a very cold May, so let's see what happens.
We will see what happens. There's no doubt about that, Crowley. And I'm glad that you got to go down there and you got a win under your belt. So we're going to allow you to go back on Sunday. This is the Fly the W podcast. It is episode number 34, season number 4. The Cubs continue to take care of that business. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast, 5-star reviews. Fine by us. You can email us, Crowley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us on Crowley's Clubhouse YouTube page, as some of you are doing right now. So after the sweep, and I believe the Cubs are at a high water mark for games over 500, Crowley, how do things stand in the standings?
The Cubs are in first place, but the Cardinals will not go away. They
will not go away, Crowley. You're driving me nuts.
3 games behind. So right there, the Brewers are having trouble keeping pace. Think about this. The Brewers are 7-3 in their last 10, and they have not gained a single game on the Cubs. They're 6.5 back. Cincinnati is 7.5, and the Pittsburgh Pirates are 14.5. We're going to talk about the Reds, but we talked about this last weekend when they played them. You want to create some more distance.
Don't you? You need to step on the throat again this weekend, right? I mean, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and we do have some roster moves and some injury news here. Cubs are in agreement with left-handed reliever Genesis Cabrera pending.
All right, now do you know much about this guy? Nobody will confirm it because something's going on. Nothing official yet. Couldn't get counsel to do it on the afternoon show. Couldn't get Tommy Hotovy to do it today on the morning show with Mully and Haw. They're not denying it, but they won't talk about it either.
So until the physicals are done, you really can't. It's one of those things that you can't do. As far as Genesis Cabrera, I mean, he was with the Mets, and he had one of those deals, Dustin, where you were allowed to opt out.
Another lefty, right? Another lefty. So that's good. You can't have enough lefties in a bullpen.
But he's been around. If you remember, he pitched a lot for St. Louis is where I remember him. And so he pitched from St. Louis from 2019 to 2023. Then he had a couple years in Toronto and was with the Mets this year. And he had a 3.52 ERA in 6 games, which, that's fine in a lefty. I think, like you said, you can't have too many lefties. I don't know exactly, if he's going to take someone's spot on a roster, if there's an injury, and that may be why the Cubs aren't saying anything right now. But when I take a look at Genesis Cabrera, I think about the guys that I didn't think were going to really do much in this team. When the Cubs invited Brad Keller to spring training, I was like, meh. When they signed Colin Ray, who cares? Drew Pomerantz, I remember both of us going, okay. What have all those guys done, Dustin? They have helped out tremendously.
They have succeeded. They have paid. They played their way onto this team, and they're doing a decent job. You're remembering those names, and there's a reason why, because they're doing a good job, right?
Right. And so hopefully, he can. If not, it's a depth piece, but we're there. Dustin, with Miguel Amaya, he's got a left oblique strain he made on a throw. And
see, this is bad. This is bad news, Crowley. Missing what? They might try to get him back before the All-Star break. That's the hope. That's the dream.
That's the hope. Right now, you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, and again, it comes down to these obliques, and I still don't think Ian's 100%.
No, I don't think he is either. And I thought it was interesting before the game the other day. I think it was Tuesday. They talked to Jed Hoyer, and he talked about the fact that these guys are so much more physically fit nowadays, bigger, stronger, faster, and that might be part of the problem as far as these oblique injuries. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, talking about oblique, Javier Assad, he is started to resume playing catch. That's where we are for the first time since April 22nd.
That seems like it has taken forever.
Well, he was there, he got better, and then he had some rehab starts. He was at AAA, it was looking close, and then that's the thing about these obliques is they can come right back and bite you. Speaking of obliques, how about this one, Porter Hodge? Now there's a problem. Craig Counsell says he's not making progress. Initially, they thought it was something like Ian Happ's oblique strain, but now they're saying the stint could last longer than the minimum stay. So that would be longer than 15 days, the 15-day IL. So that's not good news. Again, guys are stepping up, which we love to see, but that's really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one that's really bad. I mean, the Porter Hodge and the Amaya are the two that are really bumming me out of these moves, no doubt about that.
And again, you're without Justin Steele, who by the way was hilarious, I thought, and really insightful.
He's good in the booth.
Good
in the booth. Good to see him. Now, like, is he around all the time now, or kind of hit and miss? So he's not around.
No. That was like the first time he's been around in a long time.
No, I know that. I knew that. But I guess my question, I asked that question poorly, Crowley. Will he remain around now?
No. A lot of times what'll happen is that the Cubs have their trainers, and so they may want to see how he's progressing, do some medical stuff. So he would come in for something like that.
So just a quickie, say hello, nothing, this is what's up. They give him a little once over, give him some advice, and be on your way.
Yes. And, when we talk about Shota Imanaga, Bruce Levine reported he's doing some long toss. We've seen some video of him. I saw him video of him in Cincinnati. He's continuing in bullpen work. Arizona might be his next step for rehab when the team goes on the road. No return date set.
No return.
So that's where we are.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's luckily the team has played well enough and guys have stepped up in their absence. Good news for Seiya Suzuki, huh? Player of the week.
How about that, right? We have 480 average, 1,000 slug, 1.552 OPS with 10 RBIs. And I really feel like he is just an underrated part of all of this. And, they used to say with Dexter Fowler, as you go, we go. I feel that way about Seiya. I feel like when Seiya's on, this team is on. And when he's not, they're not as – it seems to be more of a slog.
That's an interesting comment about that. That's interesting, Crowley.
Yeah, and if you're – I remember that even last season as well. When he got injured in May, he had an oblique injury, go figure. But May and June, it took him a while to get his swing back, and then once
I felt like he missed forever during that.
Right.
I felt he missed. He had an oblique, and didn't he at one point? Wasn't he dealing with a thumb at one point?
Yeah, he had something on a stolen base, I remember. But yeah, that was difficult. And so, like you said, Jed Hoyer was speaking with the media, and we got some of his comments. And let's go right away with Seiya Suzuki here. He was asked, what has changed for Seiya to make him, it seems like taking another step here?
I think we've always talked about a guy that hits the ball that hard should hit more home runs. It feels like he didn't hit quite as many home runs as we probably thought. The ball's been going out of the ballpark this year. He's been a little bit more aggressive, both in counts, but also like how he's swinging. I think he's looking to do damage, which I think is fantastic. He's taken advantage of a lot of opportunities. I think that, he has a lot of guys on base in front of him, and he's been really good in those situations. And I thought the home run the other day was, that was 98, 99 mile an hour sinker, and he killed it. And, his ability to hit, to continue to develop hitting, premium velocity has been really important. So I just see a guy that's more aggressive, like I said, both in demeanor and also in counts. He's a little bit more passive at the plate before, and he's got guys on base. And he's looking to do damage, and he has.
A couple things here, and I don't mean.
I love that line, though, right? Looking to do damage, and he has.
Let me ask you a question, and this is not to take anything away from Seiya here. I kind of have a feeling that there's a Kyle Tucker effect. That he's been watching Kyle Tucker. He's got Kyle Tucker hitting in front of him, and I think that's caused him. I think he's kind of seen Kyle Tucker's approach and kind of emulated a little bit. And again, it's nice to have Kyle Tucker in front of you. You're going to get more pitches to see, right?
Absolutely. Take it. But you also then have to take advantage. Like it's not just a given, right? It's not just like, oh, he's in front of you, so you just get this.
Right.
That's not how it works.
I think though, watching him and his approach really, to me, is something that is exciting. And I think it's had a really positive effect on what Seiya's been doing at the plate. Another guy that's been fun to watch. How about Mr. PCA? What does he have to say about PCA?
Speed is fun. Triples are fun. Stolen bases are fun. Homers are great, and I think he's I'll say he's the best defender that we've had here, like, bar none. I mean, I think that he's spectacular out there and really does it in a different way because, like, so few catches he makes are actually spectacular because he makes it look pretty easy, But yeah, I think he's super fun to watch. I mean, and I love the way, like, he plays with it's like palpable enthusiasm, I guess is the way I would say it. And I think that's contagious. Fans love that. So he checks a lot of the really exciting player boxes if you're thinking about guys that are just fun to go to the ballpark and watch.
Now, I got to say, I've always said that to me, the best comp for PCA was Javi Baez. I just saw so many similarities, and it's so funny they were traded for each other. But when I think about PCA, he mentioned the best defender bar none. Okay. And it sounded like to me that he was saying in his time here with the Cubs, since Jed's been here since what, 2010, 2011?
Yep.
I mean, is there anyone that you would say would be so I think Jason Hayward would have to be in the discussion. I just defender, I'm talking. Definitely Javi Baez. Rizzo, I think, is underrated, but it's not as
Rizzo
glamorous
underrated.
As a position as a shortstop.
Underrated. Yep. Not as demanding, right?
Or center fielder,
center fielder, shortstop. We would kill if they had anybody that you could even talk about third base. I mean, Chris Bryant was pretty good, but not like the greatest, right?
He wasn't a gold glover. Dansby Swanson's up on that list.
Yeah, he's been playing really good defense this year. I mean, Dansby probably having his best year as a Cub so far, right?
Right, with the bat, but as the glove, he's been a gold glover ever since he's been here. So, think about that high praise, though, to say that, and I agree. Like, I remember Jim Edmonds was always flipping and flopping all over the place. PCA, he makes hard plays look easy. He makes extremely difficult plays. He's where he's supposed to be. So he makes a lot of plays look easy. Whereas other guys might be out of position. They don't get as good a break on the ball. It's just, to me, it's the true mark of a great center fielder is that they don't even have to make all the plays look difficult. Like, that's why Jim Edmonds sucked in center field. That's why he's always doing all that stuff. He wasn't that great. That's why he's always making diving and tumbling catches. PCA doesn't really have to do that because he's already there when the ball gets there.
Mm-hmm. Great point, Crowley. Great point by you.
What about Matt Shaw on his return? Here's what Jed had to say about that.
He looks comfortable. I think that's the word I was going to use, that even on defense, I feel like he's made some plays I don't feel like he would have made last time. Not because he couldn't have made them, but, whether it's feeling like he belongs or whether it's, whatever happened in the minor leagues in player development, but he looks more comfortable, calm. I think his, the way he's taking his at-bats has been better. I mean, great at-bats yesterday and led to 2 runs. So I think he looks more comfortable, and hopefully that continues.
So we definitely talked about the multi-hit game, but also the walks, Dustin. He's taken a lot of walks. He's seeing the ball well. And I don't know what they did. Maybe he just needed a break, a reset that we talked about. But he has looked like a different player since coming back. And remember, we talked about this before. Tommy Birch would talk about, like, from the Des Moines Register, a friend of the pod, he's a beat writer for the Des Moines Cub, would talk about, just how he would be there hours before anyone else taking ground balls. And I have seen him make some plays at third that have just been totally eye-opening, going like, oh my God, I did not expect that from Matt Shaw.
Yeah, he's definitely taking advantage of this second opportunity. There's no doubt about that. And he seems like a type of young man that is grateful to have this opportunity, right?
Yeah, and speaking of opportunities, you wonder how much more Ben Brown's going to have. I mean, obviously, Shota is going to, again, he's not, maybe going to Arizona soon, but it's going to be a little bit. But this is Jed on Ben Brown's inconsistency.
Putting it in context, like right now, he's really important to us. We have a lot of guys injured, and so that's really important. Sometimes that's the nature of, talk about young hitters and their struggles, and sometimes young starters. I mean, he was electric for 3 innings and, pitched poorly in 2 of them. And that obviously has to smooth out, but it also takes reps up here to do that. So right now, we're counting on him, and hopefully he can start to do that. And we've seen him, in Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers have a dominant start. We've seen it, in Milwaukee last year. So I don't think it's environmental. He's gone on the road in big in tough places to win and pitch great. So it's just a matter of finding that consistency.
Yeah, and I just, again, Cade Horton, I like it because now it puts pressure on on Brown to do better, right?
Right. I mean, they're giving him an opportunity. I'm guessing he's going to get at least one more opportunity until they might have to move over to Chris Flexen, right?
I think Chris Flexen's too valuable out of the pen. I think they're going to try to give this kid every shot possible. Our friend Steve Scher says Matt Shaw's professional will get him through whatever struggles come his way. He's a consummate professional. And that's a good way to put it. I agree 100% on that. Now, Dustin, here's the thing that kind of frustrates me is, we're obviously talking about, the trade deadline. You're talking about what? We're about in June, so about maybe like a month and a half, 2 months away.
Yep.
So here's what Jed had to say about the market right now.
Certainly trending that way. I mean, obviously, yes, it's early, and inevitably, there's 2 months to the deadline. There's going to be teams that get hit by injuries or just play poorly and then decide to be opportunistic or fall out of it. But yeah, the way it is now, there's just not that many teams that appear to be in that position. Like some years it's pretty obvious, and this year is less obvious. So yeah, I think that as we sit here today, like that would be the expectation.
So I will tell you,
a lot of teams are going to be not ready to sell at this point. No.
And that's the problem, Dustin, of not getting some of those free agents before the season starts, because now you're having to compete and give up more prospects to try to get some of the guys that are going to be, big names. And when I'm sitting there and I was looking last night, I was sitting there, being an armchair GM, being like, okay, who from the Rockies bullpen? And they had some interesting arms, right? They had some interesting arms, but yeah, that the Nationals, the Marlins, the Rockies, the White Sox, the Orioles, surprisingly, but I can't see them tearing everything down. The White Sox, the A's, I'm sure the Angels are not that far out of it, 5.5.
Pirates, in our division, the Pirates, obviously.
It's just frustrating because I wish, like I said, you know what you needed before the season, get it done there. But right now, this is Jed crediting the team on being able to come back.
I don't like being down a lot, but I do think that, like you have some early runs, you don't feel like, okay, this is going to be a slog tonight. It feels like we've come back really quickly, which I think is something that, this team has the ability to put up some crooked numbers pretty fast. And so I think it's been a nice thing. I think that I've been with teams with really good offenses. I've been with teams that don't. And it's a bad feeling to know that an early deficit is going to make that game a real challenge. And this team is been unbelievably resilient. And like I said, I think that builds some character early in the season.
I agree 100%. This team has been able to come back and do all sorts of things. And I think, it's a testament to them. But when you have guys that can hit home runs, Dustin, you're never out of it. When you talk about all the Cubs that are on the list.
When you can slug, you're never out of it.
No. So when you're talking about Pete Crow Armstrong, number 4 in all of baseball in home runs. I mean, again, that's just shocking. But then you got Kyle Tucker on that list. You got Seiya Suzuki on that list. Even Carson Kelly is right knocking on the door, and so you got a lot of guys hitting home runs. Dansby's doing a really good job, as you mentioned earlier. So this is a fun team to watch. There are holes to be filled, but let's see what happens in the next month.
We will see, right? We will see. This is season 4, episode 34 of the Fly the W podcast. The Cubs, Crowley, are continuing to take care of business after the recent sweep of the, hapless Rockies. Don't forget, you can email us, Crowley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Some of you are already doing this. You're watching us on Crowley's Clubhouse YouTube page. Download, listen, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. All right, Crowley, seems like we just did this, but the Reds are now in Chicago after we paid the Reds a visit.
Yep, the Cubs played the Reds last weekend in Cincy. Now the series heads to Wrigley. Dustin, that was a wild series with the Reds jumping all over the Cubs starting pitching, and then the Cubs demolishing the Reds bullpen. I did the math, okay? In the first 6 innings, the Reds outscored the Cubs 20-6. But from innings 7 to 9, the Cubs outscored the Reds 21-0.
Wow.
So Colin Ray, Jameson Taillon, and Ben Brown would love to forget about the last weekend series, but PCA loved hitting in Cincy. He went 5 for 13 with 8 RBIs and his first career grand slam. The Reds have a record of 28-29, 7.5 back of the Cubs. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games, 14-14 at home, 14-15 on the road. They're also 14-15 against teams with the winning record. So if they're anything, they're a consistent team, which is a team that right now is about a 500 team.
About a 500 ball club. No doubt about that. What have the Reds done since the last week?
Yeah, their offense continues to mash baseballs as they took 2 of 3 from the Kansas City Royals. They scored 7 runs in the first 2 games in Kansas City before dropping the finale 3-2 on Wednesday. They've scored 34 runs in their last 6 games. Dustin, again, I did the math. They're averaging about 6 runs a game. So, I mean, this team can hit.
They can hit, but hopefully the Cubs can continue to pitch. Right, that's what we've got to hope. The tail of the tape, the Cubs offense still up there in some pretty important categories.
All righty, so when we talk tail of the tape,
Bell.
The Cubs are second in batting average in MLB in the last week, 262, while the Reds are 13th, 248. Slug, the Cubs are third, 450, while the Reds are 12th, 398. With runners in scoring position, the Cubs are second with 299 average, while the Reds are 249, which is 16th. So you see that the Cubs have the advantage everywhere when it comes to hitting, but it's not like the Reds are in the bottom third, right? They're almost in the top 10 in a lot of these categories. Starting pitching ERA, Cubs are 19th in baseball with a 3.95 ERA, while the Reds are 9th. They're in the top third on that one. They are 3.59. Reliever whip, the Reds again have the advantage. They're at 123 whip, which is 12th in baseball in their bullpen, while the Cubs are 134, 18th. So all the hitting favors the Cubs. All the pitchers favors the Reds. And when it comes to defense, the Cubs have 23 defensive runs saved, which is 6th in all of baseball, while the Reds have 6, which is 16th.
Very, very good. So that should be a good series. I'm looking forward to this one, Crowley. Looking forward to it quite a bit. Friday, Colin Ray, Andrew Abbott, a 120 at Wrigley.
Yeah, and don't forget to get there early. They're going in the bleachers. They're going to have a special giveaway, vintage quarter sip.
I bet that's going to be a hot item.
There's going to be a couple other hotter ones, but it is going to be a weekend for those of us that like our SGAs.
Okay.
Colin Ray is 3-1 with a 3.28 ERA in 11 games. 8 of those starts with 40 strikeouts and 46 2/3 innings. Ray had 2 good starts heading into Cincy last weekend. May 12th, he gave up 2 runs on 6 2/3 innings against Miami and picked up the win and the quality start. On May 18th, he gave up 1 run and 5 1/3 innings of work against the White Sox. But on May 24th in Cincy, he gave up 6 runs on 7 hits and 5 innings of work with 3 walks. He did have 8 strikeouts, which were a season high for him. But Ray is now 5-1 in his career against the Reds in 9 games, 8 of those starts with a 5.88 ERA. There are a few Reds that hit Colin well. Ellie De La Cruz, 6 for 13 with 2 homers and 7 RBIs. Look out. Will Benson, 5 for 12, and Spencer Sears, 6 for 14. At least Tyler Stevenson is 1 for 6 against Ray.
Very good, very good, very good. And for the Reds,
Andrew Abbott, we saw him last time. He's 4-0 with a 1.77 ERA and 8 games started with 45 strikeouts and 40 2/3 innings pitched. Dustin, for the month of May, this is his last start in May. He's made 5 starts and has a minuscule 0.70 ERA in 25 2/3 innings pitched and has only given up 3 runs, 2 of them earned, and 1 home run. He dominated the Cubs last weekend, going 5 2/3 inning and gave up 1 run on 6 hits, 2 walks, and 2 Ks. Abbott is 2-0 lifetime against the Cubs with a 3.10 ERA and 4 starts. Nico and Dansby are both 3 for 7 against Abbott. Kyle Tucker, 4 for 6. But Seiya Suzuki is 1 for 6, and Ian Happ is 1 for 8. But Abbott throws a 4-seamer, a changeup, a sweeper, and a curve. And all of his pitches, Dustin, it's like video game movement on that.
Game number 2, Crowley. We're ready to move over to Ben Brown's game. This is important, man. This is a very, very important game. Nick Lodolo. And is this another hot item, the Dansby hair?
The Dansby flow, baby. The headband with the hair. And for some of us older gentlemen, Dustin, I think I need to get a couple of those. That looks like a hot item. But I have a prediction. That was the one that MLB picked in an article as the most unique item from the team. And so a lot of people are going to want that. But like you said, Ben Brown, he's got a good flow himself, but he needs to start getting it a good flow on the mound. He's 3-3 with a 6.39 ERA in 11 games, 10 of those starts, 62 strikeouts in 50 2/3 innings. What we've noticed, Dustin, is a pattern, right? He gets off to a bad start. Then he pitches well for like 3 innings before falling apart in the 5th. But I dove into this.
Very strange.
I dove into his splits. His ERA in the first inning is 9.90, almost 10 runs. His ERA in the second and third is 0.90, so less than a run. His ERA in the fourth is 11.17, and his ERA in the fifth is 14.14. So he's got to figure out how to get around these guys. 2 starts ago, he gave up 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings against Miami on May 19th. And last weekend against the Reds, he gave 8 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Ben is 0-2 lifetime against the Reds in 3 starts with a whopping 10.80 ERA. Not a lot of Reds have more than 5 at-bats against Ben. He needs to watch out for TJ Friedl, who's 3 for 7 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs against him. But Ellie De La Cruz is 1 for 8 with no extra base hits. And then we remember Nick Lodolo. This is a rematch of Sunday's game.
Yep.
Lodolo's 4 for 4 with a 3.39 ERA in 11 games. He started with 55 strikeouts and 63 2/3 innings pitched. On May 14th, Lodolo gave up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings of work against the White Sox. On May 19th, he gave up 1 run in 6 innings of work against the Pirates. And last weekend against the Cubs, he gave up 3 runs in 5 innings of work, got a no decision because of the Cubs' comeback. Lodolo's 2-2 lifetime against the Cubs in 6 starts with a 5.29 ERA. Seiya, 5 for 11, 3 doubles against Lodolo. Nico Horner, 4 for 13, and Ian Happ is 5 for 17. But Dansby is only 2 for 12. Lodolo features a 4-seam fastball, a curve, a changeup, and sinker. He uses that fastball to set up his secondary pitches. So game 1's a rematch of Saturday. Game 2 is a rematch of last Sunday. And then game 3, the Reds did not see Jamison Tyone, and the Cubs did not see Nick Martinez. Yeah. And Dustin, for a 3rd straight game, a great giveaway, the Shota Imanaga locker room bobblehead.
Well, now we're getting into your area of expertise, right?
I cannot wait for this one. I've heard some rumors that it is a mighty big bobblehead.
A big bobblehead.
Big bobblehead. Like the Clark one was really big and really heavy. It like wasn't like, sometimes the boxes are like kind of like this by this, they're not that big, but like the Clark one was like that by that wide. I hear this is gonna be another kind of bigger bobblehead. So
now you got your people to get in line early. How does this work? How much prep goes into something like this, Crawley?
For a guy like me, I put a lot of prep in it, but for your average fan, you just want to get there. You don't want to wait until like an hour before game time. You're not going to get it. Get there when the gates open and you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Okay, there you go. There's some advice from a 20-plus year season ticket holder on the giveaways. All right,
and a guy who has a few bobbleheads.
A couple bobbleheads. If you watch the podcast, you might have seen a couple of those a couple times or two. So Jamison Tyone going for another quality outing for the Cubs.
Yeah, he's 4-3 with a 3.86 ERA and 11 starts with 51 strikeouts and 63 innings pitched. He had a great month of May with quality starts in 4 of his last 5 outings. Against the Marlins on May 14th, he gave up 3 runs in 6 innings. In Miami, he gave up 1 run in 7 innings. And against the Rockies, he gave up 1 run in 6 1/3 innings. He did not pitch against the Reds like we talked about, but he's 6-6 lifetime against them in 18 career starts, 4.79 ERA. Spencer Steer is 4 for 13 against JMO with a home run. Tyler Stevenson is 5 for 9 with a home run. Austin Hayes is 8 for 14, but Santiago Espinal is only 3 for 15. And then we're going to see for the Reds, Nick Martinez. He's 3-5 with a 3.48 ERA in 11 games started with 45 strikeouts in 64 2/3 innings pitched. He had a great start on May 15th against the White Sox, going 7 scoreless innings and giving up 2 hits. And on May 20th, he gave up 1 run in 6 innings of work. And so he's 2-1 lifetime against the Cubs in 8 games. 2 of them starts with a 2.25 ERA. Nico swings the bat well against him. And so when you're looking at Nico's numbers, he is 4 for 9. Ian Happ, not so much. He's 2 for 11 against Nick Martinez. Now with Nick Martinez, for the Cubs, what they're going to have to take a look when they see his arsenal is that he ends up having a couple pitches that he uses. He uses a 4-seam, a changer, a cutter, a sinker, and a slider. So he's got a lot of pitches. And his off-speed stuff really moves a lot, but he walks a lot of guys and he gives up a lot of contact. So I really kind of feel like this is a guy that the Cubs can get to, in my opinion. I think out of all of the 3 games, this is the one that you need Ben Brown, again, just in general, just for his own well-being. You need him to do well, but especially against Martinez when the offense is really going to have a chance to put up some numbers against him.
All right, so speaking of offense, let's get into the hot and not. Obviously, the player of the week, Seiya Suzuki, remains hot. Matt Shaw gets on this list. Nico Tucker on the list, but Dansby surprisingly on the not list because he felt like he's been going okay.
Yeah, no, Seiya's 10 for his last 23 with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. Again, player of the week. Matt Shaw, 8 for 23. He's got multi-hit games going on. And so that's exciting to see. Nico, 7 for his last 23, batting .304, and so is Kyle Tucker. But when you kind of go down the list, you got Michael Busch is 3 for his last 16 with 2 RBIs, slashing 188, 279, 188. And Dansby is 3 for his last 23. He does have a home run and 3 RBIs, so that gets you excited, but he's slashing 130, 231, 261. So, Dustin, that's just part of the Dansby Swanson experience of the hot and the cold.
He can be a roller coaster. All right, how about the Reds? Who's hot? Who's not? How's that Ellie De La Cruz guy doing?
Well, you got TJ Friedl's 13 for his last 27 with an RBI, slashing 41, 533, 556. He's hot. Tyler Stevenson, 8 for his last 19 with 2 home runs and 5 RBI, slashing 421, 500, 789. Spencer Steer, 8 for 22. He's slashing 364, 440, 409. And Ellie De La Cruz, he's 5th on this list, Dustin. He's 9 for his last 25 with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs. He's slashing 364, 29.
5 guys on the hot list is not good news there. 4 or 5 guys. That's a lot. That's a lot of hot. That's a lot of Enfuego.
They're averaging about 6 runs a game in the last 10 games. So they've been hitting the ball.
All right. Well, something's got to give there. How about the not people? Who do we not have to worry about as Cub fans?
I mean, boy, it's tough, but Austin Hayes is 6 for 24. He does have 5 RBIs. He's slashing 250, 296, 500. That qualifies for cold. Matt McClain has just not gotten it going. He's 5 for 22. He's slashing 227, 227, 273. But for him this season, that's good. Will Benson is also 1 for his last 17. So he's the coldest of the cold, 0.059, 0.143, and 0.059. So don't walk that guy, please.
All right, this is going to be interesting. We were both right last time. The Cubs were able to pull off that sweep against the Rockies from Colorado. Now it's the Reds from Cincinnati. Prediction time, Crawley. I will give you the honors.
I'm going to have the Cubs taking 2 of 3. I want to.
We like Sunday, right? We feel good about Sunday.
Sunday I like, and I got a feeling that I don't know why. I want to say that I feel like Game 2, Ben Brown versus Nick Lodolo is going to be a big one, and I'm praying Ben Brown comes through for me on this one.
All right, the weather is going to heat up for us, and I think this is going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks. I think these are going to be games to look at the totals if you're into that sort of investing, if you will. And I will agree with you. We're going to go 2 out of 3 because we're the Cubs and we're at home and we win series. Crawley, that's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Got a question you wanted answered? Well, email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And you can watch us. Some of you are doing that right now by subscribing to Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube channel. Crawley, enjoy the game on Sunday. Happy summer break almost. I guess you got one more day left.
One more day, and then it's Wrigley life. As Joey Waltz put it, let's go win another series this weekend. And I agree 100%. Thank you, Joey, Steve. We got Chip, all sorts of people in here on the comments, and feel free anytime to jump on and put in your 2 cents. It's going to be an exciting weekend. The weather's warming up. The giveaways are getting good, and the Cubbies are playing some good ball. Go Cubs!
It's all over.